All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Free. I'm Ryan. I'm the pastor and executive director here, and this is Carrie. She is the associate executive director here. Welcome to all of you joining us online. We're glad you're part of this community, whatever state you're joining us from. Welcome. Tonight's going to be a fun evening. At least the 5 o'clock was. We'll see what happens at the 7 o'clock, if y'all behave. All right, to give you a reminder, this is a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees, and what we do here is break the silence of addiction while creating space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. And there's always one thing we don't do in this community. Y'all can shout it out on a count of three. If you're at home, type it in. Shout it out in your living room, wherever you are. 1, 2, 3.
We don't do shame.
We don't do shame. Carrie, tell us other things, though.
Yes,
Tell us all the things.
Well, there's not that many things
Okay.
today, but there is one important one. If tonight is your first time, welcome. We are glad that you're here. After the service, we would love to connect with you just outside of these doors. Connect with one of us or a volunteer. I know Kai here, so Kai, raise your hands. Kai would love to help as well. You can get a welcome bag. Inside the welcome bag, you'll find some fresh roasted wagon coffee. She is not here tonight, but she is dearly missed, the wonderful Tammy candidate.
You know why she's not here?
I mean, I think she has her plate full, right?
Well, yeah, but it's a family thing. Selah has homecoming tonight. She just sent me a picture of Selah in her dress. Selah's my 15-year-old daughter. Oh, my word. She's like a grown woman now.
That's
15 years
hard.
old. Yeah, you're big sister, dude. And then Breck has 2 basketball games. He just won the first one. The second one's starting now. So that's where they are. I'm familyless tonight, but I have all of you.
Yes. And we do still have wagon coffee, which
Yes.
is awesome. So the amazing Tammy candidate and her ladies at Wagon Coffee, inside the welcome bags, you'll find some fresh roasted Wagon Coffee, as well as some free swag and our Connect card. The Connect card is how you stay connected. You find out all the different events we have, as well as who the guest storyteller is going to be each week. So connect with us, sign up to the newsletter, get on our mailing list. We're glad you're here.
Yeah?
And
Okay,
that's
thank you,
it.
Carrie. We'll see you back here in just a few minutes because it's a very exciting evening. Oh, but let me tell you this first. Next week, next Saturday, now y'all know 7 o'clock people. I love the 7 o'clock people. But I want to let you know, at the 5 o'clock service next Saturday, our Bishop Kristen Stone King, is going to be joining us. I know some of you are like, well, what's a bishop? What's that? And who's Bishop Kristen? And so we're part of the United Methodist Church. In the United Methodist Church, it's made up of conferences. We are in the Mountain Sky Conference, which is Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, Montana, and just a little piece of Idaho. Anyway, Bishop Kristen Stone King is our new bishop. Some of you remember our older bishop, Bishop Karen Alavito, joined us last year. They're very supportive of what's happening at Free. They think this mission is so cool. They've been very supportive. It's a good relationship. She's going to come and just share a few words at the end of the service and just, I don't know, I think let y'all know how cool you are. So if you are in town and you want to come to the 5 o'clock service, that's the only service she will be at. But we're still going to have all kinds of fun at the 7 o'clock service if you choose to come to the 7. Because next week, we're starting a new series called Do It Scared. How do we deal with fear? What's it look like? How does it creep up in our lives? How do we keep moving forward even in the midst of fear? So Do It Scared, that's going to be next week. It's going to be all kinds of fun. Okay, how we get started here at Free on a Saturday night is with celebrations. We start with the good. We lift up the good. Maybe you're here and you're celebrating a sobriety anniversary or a birthday or whatever the new thing in your life or recovery is. We celebrate it all here. It's a very important part of our time together to cheer for one another, root for each other. God joins with us in the celebrations. So we take 3 minutes for this. If you're online, drop your celebrations in the YouTube comments or the Facebook comments, whatever platform you're joining us from, and we'll join you there in-house. Just raise up your hand. Jason will have a mic. Jessica will have a mic on this side. Just raise up your hand. Give us the good news. Let's take 3 minutes. This time is yours.
On?
Oh, yeah, you're on.
Just have 90 days. sober. Really good to be here.
Way to go. Happy 90 days. Very cool. Congratulations.
I'm Kai, and I'm celebrating 932 days free of fentanyl.
Way to go, Kai. 932.
I'm Nick, closing on my first home on Wednesday.
All right, Nick. Big deal, dude. Congratulations. Shua. Oh, no, not Shua. Who are we doing?
He psyched me out.
Oh, did you not have your hand up? Okay, Shua. We just shamed him into it.
Okay. I have 30-something days, but I definitely have 30. So 32.
Happy 32, Shua. Glad you're here, brother. Who's going to run faster?
Yes. Hello, I'm Swan Blaze. As far as sobriety, it'll be 7 years, February 18th, coming up, of alcohol. Something great, I'm here to support MJ, and he just fills my heart with the utmost joy, and I love this guy.
Yeah,
And I'm happy to be
Me
here.
too.
I'm happy to be here. Thank
Yeah,
you.
we'll celebrate that, Swan. MJ, Mark Jordan is our guest storyteller tonight. You'll hear from him in just a bit. And happy 7 years, man. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Eli. I actually just recently rekindled an old passion of mine and started making music again. So,
All right, Eli, congratulations, man.
I got another one. So I came over here to Free on a Monday, and there's a wonderful trauma-informed candlelight yoga, which I loved. And then on the table, there was a brochure for equine therapy. It is covered by Medicaid insurance, so I've got that, and I got it going on. So I have 2 more activities that are really recovery-based. I'm getting the idea from what you had said of be in proximity to this program, Freely Given. So thanks.
Good for you. That's a good way to do recovery. Good way to do the 90 days. Hey, thank you, Jessica and Jason. Jessica, you want to join me up here for our online community? I mean, someone's got to do it. I can't do it alone. We do not walk this road alone. Okay. Let's stand a little closer to the screen. Okay, so here's what we do, Jessica. Let me explain it. Okay. Our online community, when they write in their celebrations, we read some of them from the screen because we're all in it together. Okay. So you read one, then I read one. Okay, you want to go first?
Sure.
Okay, you go first.
Frank from New Jersey. I just completed a very rough detox, feeling healthy, hopeful, and grateful.
Way to go, Frank. We'll celebrate that, dude. Glad you're here tonight. Kenneth Freeman, also known as Trip. Trip Freeman says, I celebrated 10 years clean last week. Way to go, Trip. Proud of you, brother. Keep on going.
Robin, hey fam, glad I can call Free Recovery Community my spiritual refugee. Hashtag blessed and grateful. Hashtag home.
All right, Robin, we're glad you're here. Congratulations. Congratulations. I don't know why I said that. I should have just said we're glad you're here, but we'll congratulate it too.
No shame.
Okay, no shame. Jennifer says, the love of my life has 5 months today. Way to go, Jennifer's love of her life. 5 months. Congratulations. Oh, that was it.
Okay.
Thank you, Jessica.
You're welcome.
You know what? I'll just hold that one up here. I'm just going to hold it so it doesn't roll off the chair. Oh, it stays. All right, y'all. Here's why you see 3 chairs up here instead of my table. Because tonight, if you haven't been with us in a couple of weeks, well, we're doing this 2-week series. This is the 2nd week. The series is called Better Questions, Deeper Faith. So last week, I shared about the importance of questions and how in this community, your questions are welcomed. We're not threatened by your questions. God is not threatened by your questions. Religion might be. God is not. God can handle your biggest, deepest questions and doubts. And so what we thought we'd do on the second week, we've been letting you know for a couple of weeks now to email in your questions. Email them to Ben. Your biggest questions about God, faith, religion, spirituality, recovery. And y'all stepped up. I think, Shanley, how many questions did we have total? 30? 20? It was a lot of questions that came in. Shanley is going to moderate tonight. Me and Carrie are going to sit up here. And our goal tonight is not to simply answer the questions because that would be boring and ineffective, but to engage the questions, to model what it looks like to someone. We received a lot of good feedback. People want us to do this again, Carrie, because it was so fun. But someone stood at the side of the stage afterwards and she said, man, I'm walking out of here now asking more questions and I want to go do research. And it's like, yes, that's what the questions do. You don't just answer them and then say, okay, now I'm good. Because so many questions, well, it's not like there's one right answer. It's perspectives. And we've got to learn to ask better questions to get to deeper spiritual paths. So that's our goal tonight. Carrie, are we going to do it? Shanley, are we going to do it? Here's the video. Come on up on the stage. Can I first say what makes it a little bit scary? Because I didn't say this. Me and Carrie have not seen the questions. So last, at the 5 o'clock, it was just these questions being fired at us like, oh my goodness, these are really good questions. And we didn't see them up front. Some of them might be the same, some might not be, so we don't know. Shanley's gonna lead the show.
Yay. They're not the same questions.
All right. We're gonna breathe deep.
But before we start, a couple things. There were a lot of questions that were submitted. Ben was so generous in sharing them and breaking them down for me into different kind of themes. But exactly what, they were honest, raw, and brave, exactly what spirituality and exploration should be in this space. We have these two lovelies up here tonight to help us wrestle with these questions together, and they have no clue what they're in for. I want to be clear up front that we did have more incredible questions than we have time for, and we might have covered it at the 5 o'clock, but I'm sure that one of these guys would help you out if you want to know the answer that they gave. So I've grouped some of these themes together. Ryan and Carrie won't be giving you the answer like Ryan said because there isn't just one. Instead, they will help us think more deeply, question more honestly, and maybe find some peace in whatever it is we're wrestling with. Recovery teaches us that if we don't get honest, we get high. The same is true for spirituality. We ask real questions, or we settle for grocery store faith. You could ask me about that later. And that crumbles when life gets hard. So we have a couple ground rules. 1, no one has to defend their beliefs. 2, all questions are welcome. Shame is not. It's on the wall. 3, we're exploring together, not debating to win. 4, it's okay to sit with uncertainty. And 5, most importantly, these two have no clue.
And number 6, no fighting.
Oh, yeah, no fighting.
Ryan gets the hard ones, right?
No, we covered that the first time. Yep. All right, so our first cluster of questions might be some of the hardest. They're kind of around, what do we do when God feels missing, especially when terrible things happen? So one of the first questions is, why do good Christians shame people and say that they don't believe hard enough in their version of God?
Ooh. why they don't believe hard enough in their version of God. Here's what I would encourage you to think about. Isn't it interesting in religious circles, oftentimes it becomes an us versus them. And what's my job in the whole project? My job is to convert you to my way of seeing the world, my way of understanding God or higher power or universe or ultimate reality, whatever you call it. Because if I can convert you, then I'm winning. Charlie Sheen, winning. Oh, you got to watch the documentary, by the way. It's on Netflix. But isn't it interesting? We've set the whole thing up as us versus them. And why it's so interesting is Jesus never set it up that way. Like, it was never just about converting to my way. It was always about broadening the perspective, seeing life in a brand new way. Talk about eternal life. Eternal life is about the here and now. How do you have the fullest kind of life, the most expansive kind of life? But it was never about us versus them and how do I convert you to see it my way. But somehow we thrive. I mean, y'all see this politically right now. We thrive in division. Division keeps the whole thing running. And I guess what I want to close with is, here at Free, can we do it differently? Can we truly have different perspectives and walk together? You might see God differently than me. You might see the scriptures differently than me. You might see politics differently than me. Can we walk together and love one another? So important.
Would you like to add anything,
I
or
have
would you like the
two-
next question?
Like two little quick thoughts. And I think the main thing for me ultimately would come down to, I believe it would be out of fear. That like a lot of times, anyone who's so certain that they have the answer, it's probably because they need that certainty in their life. And so if I'm right, then you're wrong, then I can be okay, right? Like, so in my opinion, most people who are like, this is the way and you're wrong, softening up to having a little bit more compassion for those people, being like, oh, that must be really interesting. Like, can you tell me more? And getting curious and judgmental even about the people that we don't agree with.
Wow, that was good.
Oh, that was good, Carrie. That was good.
Should probably have written that
Let's
one
just
down.
give her the rest of the questions.
Thank goodness it's online forever.
Uh-huh.
All right, the next question is, does God have a plan that includes suffering, or is God grieving with us?
Who asked that question? No. Oh, we can't ask that question?
Ben never sent me the names of who
Yeah,
who
okay,
submitted
we'll talk to
them.
Ben afterwards. I'm kidding. Here's how I would engage that. Does God have a plan that includes suffering? In other words, does God cause suffering? And I know it's like a popular Christian thing to say, well, yeah, God's doing that to you and you don't know why, but there's going to be something good that comes out of it. Man, I started to understand this more deeply when I had kids. So if Bricks, my little 6-year-old, is here tonight. If there was and I'm his father, if he goes and plays outside and a car comes barreling down the road and I see it and I see what's about to happen and I don't stop it, you all would not call me a good father. You would probably call child abuse on me. Why do we imagine God is so different than a good parent? We say, no, God just is putting the suffering in your place for something good to happen. Really? I mean, doesn't suffering happen because humanity has free will? We have free will. I can go out tonight. If I were to pick up a drink tonight, I could go cause a tremendous amount of destruction. I could go do that. I can stop at the liquor store on the way home. I don't think I am. But I could if I wanted to. We also have the capacity to do an amazing amount of good and healing in the world. But if humans have free will, that means there's going to be evil, there's going to be suffering. And to answer that first part of the question, God is with us in the suffering. God's solidarity with the suffering. I fundamentally understand God to be that way in the world, to be with us in the suffering, but not creating the suffering. Yeah.
I agree that I definitely don't think that God creates the suffering, but I do believe that God, universal, whatever you want to call it, is with us in the suffering. It makes me think of your sermon a couple weeks ago about the baby turtles, right? With Brandon Nelson, when he talked about the little baby turtles, how they need to like use those little muscles. I don't know about you guys, but I'll tell you, this alcoholic needed to learn some lessons the hard way. I would not have, whether that was faith, whether that was love, whether that was trust, like I needed a little bit of that resistance. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so sweet on the other end, right? Like if we didn't know darkness, we wouldn't know light. If we wouldn't know, we need opposites, right? And I feel like, and again, I don't think that God is making any of these things happen, but and this community knows this very well firsthand, that some of the greatest tragedies bring us together. We learn to love in a new way, and it like cracks us open to be rebuilt stronger.
Like your 9 to my 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A whole sermon in that.
I know, right? All right. The next section is the Bible, exclusion, and who gets to belong. Several of our questions were all about how to read scripture, especially when it's being used to weaponize against the LGBTQ community, and when Christians use it to justify exclusion and shame. All right, first question. How do you deal with what's going on in our government? Exclusion and criticism of transgender, gay, black, immigrants, women, low-income families, homeless, etc., and keep people united when so much goes against God's message of loving one another. We don't do shame, but our president spews it.
Woo, someone was really had a question that. And it's actually a good question. And I guess I would start with saying, isn't it great? I'll speak for myself here. I almost said we. My loyalty is not to a political leader. My loyalty is to something different. My loyalty is not to speak in a biblical language, this kingdom, but a different kind of kingdom. Isn't that why spaces like this exist? To prove that another way is possible? If you are, and I realize in this community we have people that identify in all sorts of different ways, especially when it comes to the spiritual spectrum, the religious spectrum. If you are Christian, identify as Christian, follow the way of Jesus. We will have to wrestle seriously with the one who says to his friends when he said, when I was in prison, you visited me. When I was hungry, you gave me something to eat. When I was thirsty, you gave me water. And they look at him. You remember what they said? Jesus, when did we see you do these things? We never saw you in prison. And he says, what you do to the least of these, my brothers and sisters, is what you do to me. We will have to wrestle with who are the least of these, and how we treat them actually matters. So hopefully what we do here at Free is different than what we see happening in the political spectrum, the government spectrum, and the words we're hearing come from all kinds of leaders, that we do it differently here because we follow a different way.
And this, again, 2 cents on this one. And I also feel that one of the things that I've learned in my own recovery journey, I had a lot of anger from things in my childhood or whatever things in the past. And one of the greatest things that I do have control over today, and this is where I do feel that I do have some authority, and I don't like to use the word revenge because that's not quite what I mean, but I'm blanking on a better word. The best revenge I have for acts of those hatred and those acts is to not be like those people, right? So don't be like the people who hate. So again, they want us to hate each other. They want us to be divided. That they thrive in the chaos, right? And what we can do is we can just take that pause and try to literally be that change that we wish to see, right? And right? And it's, I know that sounds like woo-woo-y and up in the clouds and all, but it really is that small pause of, you know what, I could sit here and tell you, I don't particularly care for our president. But if I sit here and say that, like, I don't know, if I start being mean or I start like trash talking the person who's trash talking all these people, I'm no better than he is, right? So I'm going to choose to stay on the side of love, and I'm going to choose to stay on the side of hope and peace.
That was really good. I think Obama said it too. Didn't he say they go low, we go high?
Like, just be nice.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was an Obama. Sorry.
You had the last name right.
All right. The next question is in Romans 1:24 through 38. Paul talks about the wickedness of homosexuality. How do we make sense of this? Can someone address these contradictions?
Carrie. You want me to take this one? Okay, so this is actually a really good question. It's one that comes up anytime I preach on anything to do with the subject. Someone will always come in, it's usually online, someone will email me or send me a message saying, well, haven't you read these passages? Yes, I've read those passages. Let's break it down a little bit. There's 5 to 7 passages in the Bible that remotely talk about this, but that actually don't talk about this. Why do I say that? Because what we're reading today, we have to remember it's a translation. So you have the Old Testament written in the Hebrew language, New Testament written in the Greek language, then we have translations of that. Did you know the word, so the question is interesting in itself because the word homosexuality is a pretty new word, right? Pretty new word. In the scriptures, it's a really new word. Homosexuality didn't come into the scriptures until, I believe, you can Google search me on this, but I think it was 1946. So it's a new word. Why is that important? And I'm spilling my tea everywhere. I should have brought a table up here. Why is that important? So when Paul is talking in Romans, you have to understand context is very important. Isn't it interesting, by the way, when people say, well, I just don't like gay people. I don't like the queer community. They're almost never saying it as, I don't like those people because I've had an experience, a bad experience. It's almost always connected to the scriptures, and the scriptures gets used as a weapon towards them. But then you ask, well, what's Paul really saying in this letter to the Romans? Who's he writing to? We have to remember, Jews have been kicked out of Rome by a former emperor. Years have passed, a new emperor. Now they're being welcomed back into Rome. And there's Jewish Christians, and then there's Gentiles. And there's all this inner conflict. And so Paul opens this letter, and he's talking about what's natural versus what's unnatural. And what he's referring to, if you look at the context, and if you know something about history, he's telling these Gentile Christians, he's saying, y'all can't be like the pagans. Don't be what they do in the pagan temples. What do they do in the pagan temples? Why would he mention this male-to-male sex, if I could speak plainly? Because it was common in that day, in that context, where you had older males taking advantage of sexually, taking advantage of young males. This is called pedophilia. I hope we could all agree that that's not a good thing. I hope we could all agree Paul is speaking against this. In fact, if you were to Google pottery, pagan pottery in the first century, Greco-Roman world, you would see this depicted on pottery. Maybe you don't want to do that because I don't know what's going to come up in your Google search. But that's the context he's talking about. And then the very next verse, people forget to go to the second chapter, chapter 2, verse 1, where Paul says, because you can imagine with all this conflict, Jews are looking at Gentiles, and they're saying, yeah, Paul, you teach them, you tell them. Let them know they're bad. Paul looks at them, 2 verse 1, and says, who are you to judge? So he's creating actual unity, but he's telling them, we're doing a new thing here. Don't do what they do in pagan worship. And then they would do this act of domination, older men, younger boys, and they would call it a form of worship to the gods. Paul says, don't do that. Stop doing that. I think we could all agree with Paul on this one.
You're going to stay
What
out
do you
of
got
it?
to say about that, Carrie?
All
That
right.
is a good question. That is. I just want to affirm that's a really. Thank you, Tara.
Aw.
Except I got to move it out of the camera's way.
What a
There we go.
gem.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. How do we reconcile love one another with leaders and laws that actively harm vulnerable people?
Should we ask Chat that one? Chat GPT?
It's not phone a friend.
Yeah. Ask it one more time just so we understand it.
How do we reconcile love one another with leaders and laws that actively harm vulnerable people?
Can I go
Yeah,
first?
yeah.
And I would say that's why this space is so needed, right? Like, and it's not just this space. So this one is specifically for addicts and loved one of addicts and those spiritual refugees, right? We are one branch of so many that are needed, but there's this one space where we get to come together, and even if it's for a 1-hour meeting during the week, or if it's for a 1-hour service on a Saturday night, and then even just being that small little like drop in the ocean of the solution, right? Because we can all sit there, and I've been guilty of this myself. I can sit there and I can get real hopeless real fast and say, well, they're in charge. There's nothing I can do. See all the evil out in the world. Or I can take that one small action, and whether that's like being that kind, to that person who, like Ryan's a great example, right? Like how you grew up in evangelical Midwest, church culture. It literally taught you to hate certain people, right? But you were able to learn to dismantle that, right? So it's like checking our own biases, like where are we still holding, and they may be so subconscious that we don't know that we hold them, right? But like that's why it's important to be around like diverse people and to be around diverse communities and to keep questioning ourselves. Why do I have this belief? What is it in me that sees them as the enemy, whatever that might be? But we do have power in all of these like seemingly hopeless situations, even if it's those small acts one at a time.
Yeah, and I think it's the hard work of seeing through a different lens. When I hear you, when I get to know your story, all of a sudden I can't hate you anymore because I see a face in front of me. I see the divine image in front of me. If I get to know you, but as long as we do this and say, no, I don't know you and I don't want to know you, I know who you people are. You see how that just keeps the whole thing in circulation? But when we actually get to know people's story, when we learn their names, it's harder to hate that person. My life was fundamentally changed when I got to know them, whoever the other is. And I would also say recovery taught me a great lesson that we can sit in a room full of people that look very different, talk very different, vote very different, think very different, and yet we have the common bond of knowing what it's like to be at the bottom and a higher power, ultimate reality, universe, God pulling us out of that and doing it together. And that's a beautiful thing, a lesson that recovery teaches us.
That's good.
Would you tell us if it was bad?
We'll hear about it online, I think.
I was like, my face might. Can I believe in God while turning out the Jesus stuff? I have had past religious trauma around having to accept Jesus as my Lord and Savior, and I still bristle at that. How do you respond to somebody who wants spirituality but feels like Jesus comes with too much baggage?
Can I start on this one? I feel like you are my people, whoever asked that question. And I always say in many different areas, but start where you are with what you already have, right? So if it's your doubts, if it's your willingness to believe, even your willingness to like dip your toe in the spiritual pool, there are so many different paths that like it doesn't have to look like somebody else's. It doesn't have to be the God or the Jesus of your childhood. I came in here with very little church knowledge. I came in here with a very difficult obstacle. Like I didn't think that God was for me. Not that I didn't believe that you guys all had access to God, but I was the one exclusion that wasn't allowed to belong. But I first found in the rooms of 12-step recovery, I was able to find people who I could start to lean into their faith, to listen to what does it look like for you to understand the divine? Like, what does it look like for you? And I just kept that open mind, and I didn't have to have this like light switch moment where God was like, oh, I know all the answers now and I have it. But that willingness to even engage in the possibility of maybe there's something for me to learn here. And even if it's not Jesus is like, my Lord and Savior and all the things that you think you need to believe, what if you could just possibly entertain the thought for 1 second, just like every other person out there, that there's maybe something I can learn in this arena? And they also say, take what you like and leave the rest. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, and I'm glad that person asked that question, because I think it's a really important question, especially in this community, because it highlights the religious trauma that so many people have experienced. And in my experience, I don't think I've ever encountered anyone who said, man, Jesus, he was just a terrible person. My problem is with Jesus. That's not usually what I hear, but I hear a lot of, my problem is with the church. My problem is with the institution. People have been harmed by institutions, by churches, by people, by structures, systems. But when we're talking about, it's unpacking. So this is actually a loaded question. It's unpacking everything that was handed to you, everything that was just passed down to you. So many people were, this idea of a Jesus was shoved down their throat, and now they're like, yo, I don't do that anymore. So is it possible, can I still be in if I don't follow exactly what was handed down to me? And the answer to that is, yeah, we're all on a journey together. And sometimes we got to shift language. Sometimes you got to change the language so it makes more sense in the world in which you've come out of, and you've been harmed from that world, and it's totally okay.
That was really good.
Oh, thank you, Shannon.
Yeah.
We got that one right? Okay,
Yeah,
good.
You did. You answered that one. You nailed it. It's always interesting to me to hear about the rooms of AA, because it wasn't really my journey. So I'm glad that those aren't just questions that are in those rooms.
Yep.
All right, on to the next theme. This is living recovery spirituality day to day. We don't do shame because God doesn't do shame. But what about anger and hate?
Do we do anger and hate?
That's the question.
Yeah. Okay. So, I don't know. How's that for an answer? You want to go first?
I mean, I will go first. I feel like, do we do it? Yes, of course we do, or else this person wouldn't have asked the question, right?
Yeah.
Like, who in here has never been angry, right? Like, of course we're angry. And what was the other one? Anger and what? Yeah. And I'm sure there's people that we think that we hate them. And I would also ask, and any person that I've ever had an intimate conversation with, and I know Jess can contest to this, I ask you, like, how is that working for you? Right? Like, I ask all the time, how's that working for you? That hate and that anger, right? Like, chances are it is not serving you in any way, shape, and form, right? So it's like, okay, so even though I feel this way, and I used this in the last one, which wasn't the same question, but I found myself, I'm usually a pretty, like, mellow driver, right? I got so mad on the way. I live like 6 minutes away from here, people. And there was this person, I'm serious, and this person was going too slow on my 6-minute commute in here, and I was not kind. But I found myself where I was like, oh, simmer down, sister. Like, where is that coming from, right? And I know, it's crazy. I hear myself how crazy this sounds. But it can bubble up in these unexpected ways. But today, I can take a pause, and I might have these angry thoughts. I might have this fear or whatever, hatred or whatever you want to call it. But I can pause today. I can question why I have that, and for me, I turn to my higher power and I say, direct me to how you would want me to actually be in the world. Because I know that my God does not want me chasing down that poor Prius driver. You know what I mean?
This is true.
Of course it was a Prius.
Can I say to that, I would love to know the question underneath that question, because there's usually a question underneath the question. I can tell you, some people have asked me in person, why aren't you expressing more, and they may not use the word hate, but it's, why aren't you expressing more hate on social media for what's happening politically? Why aren't you taking my side on this? You know what's right. Oh, you want me to be angry with you? Okay, well, how do I express that? Oh, you want me to hate? Okay, tell me again, who should I hate? If it's different than you, is it okay? Well, no, that's not okay. And what I can tell you is I've had to think deeply about that question. And if you knew how much vodka I poured down my throat because of hate, hate kept me so stuck for years. I had people that I hated, people I swore I would never talk to again. Hate is a great poison in my life, and if I allow myself to go to that place of joining in the hatred, I've had to set really clear boundaries for my heart to not go to those places because it doesn't lead to a place of healing. And I know sometimes we think, no, this will get us to healing. No, it doesn't. Not in my life, not in my experience. It doesn't work.
I know you're not going to answer the question, but could you have a workshop on how to put those boundaries up?
Oh, that would be a good one, wouldn't it? I'm kind of an expert in it because
I know.
I had to
Sounds
be.
like it. All right. How do you remember each day that it's time for your daily conscious contact? What, where, and how do you achieve having contact with God?
Yeah, you want to start?
I'll go first. Because again, I did not come in here with one. I believed a woman who told me that in order to not die, and in order to live a happy life, and not just drink, but actually enjoy life while not drinking, I had to establish this conscious contact on a daily basis. So this was so foreign to me, right? And so I literally had to start just trying. And so it sounds so silly in hindsight, right? But it did take what it took in order for me to get there. But today, I would say it's almost as like natural in me as if I'm thirsty, I take a drink. If I'm stinky, I take a shower. If I'm tired, I take a nap, right? And so I know that most people, if you see me, and most people who know me, like I'm these days, let's not go in the past, but these days, I'm a pretty even keeled on the spiritual beam most of the time. And if you see where I'm like a little bit prickly or a little bit spicy, chances are you'll all know before I know of like, oh, like, have you prayed lately? Like, how's that working for you? Right? But it's like today, it's like I also know that I can get just as cranky if I don't have a snack, if I don't have a nap. Like, I'm a little toddler, right? Like, I still need my higher power on a daily basis. And it's usually the very first thing I do when I wake up, the very last thing I do before I go to bed. But it doesn't have to be this like, on the altar and this looks so beautiful and I'm bowing and kneeling and all the things, right? Like it can be as simple as thank God I made it through today. And in the morning, same thing, like where it's like, okay, I got a lot going on today. God, I really need you with me today. And one thing that I love that you actually helps me get closer to God on is when you had said, and you say this, you don't say it all the time, but I think you should say it more. But when you talk about like God is as close as your breath, you know, and like so now like I'll realize where I'm like, oh, like I can actually just take a breath and I can do that as an act of connecting to my higher power. That like God is like, come to me, come in me, and then let me take that breath and then be of service to those around you. But if I'm sitting here clenching and holding my breath, then like it's not pretty for anyone involved.
Yeah. Very good, Carrie. Should I add on to that, or you got another question?
Well, the next question is, what does your conscious contact actually look like for you personally? Not the textbook answer, but the real one.
Oh, that's a great question. I would love to know who asked that. I got to stop saying that because we don't get to know who asked that. But it's a great question because it is so easy to give Christian platitudes and easy answers and, oh, you just got to hit your knees and pray. Okay, I did that. Now what? I can tell you having children, man, it's been so good for me in the sense of when we sit down to dinner and we have dinner together, probably on average 3 nights a week because life is crazy, 4 kids. They're all going different directions. But we all sit down together probably 3 nights a week. And Tammy started this years ago, my wife. She has us go around the table and we either do gratitude. Some nights we do gratitude. What are you most grateful for? And some nights we'll do what we call highs and lows. What was your high today and what was your low today? And those are like simple practices that we can do together for conscious contact. Of course, prayer and meditation, that would be the easy answer to give you, and we could talk more about that. I think they're both important. But then I mentioned kids because then all of a sudden what happens is your little 6-year-old turns around, and you can go to my social media page that I posted this week, does the most beautiful act of contentment that I've ever seen, and it was from a 6-year-old, and I'm like, little dude's paying attention. So we get to do it together as a family and actually hopefully pass something down. And to me, that's conscious contact in a bigger perspective. Yes, I got to have it on a daily basis. Yes, I've got to pray. Yes, there's things I've got to do to stay centered, eat healthy, go to the gym. But there's also these other broader ways we can do it.
So I don't think I want you to do a conference or what did I call it? A workshop?
I think Brick should lead it.
I think
That'd be
Brick
great.
needs to do a workshop on how to be pretty rad.
There you go.
And if you've never met him, if you just have 2 minutes to spend with him, your day will be changed. This is definitely none of the questions that we touched on earlier. So, what does your church address, or excuse me, how does your church address individuals and groups in despair? Do you want me to ask all of them, or do you want me to ask them individually? There's a whole kind of group.
Yeah, let's hear the group.
Okay. What is your church's path of Christianity? How is it evolving? And what is the role of the church?
I'm not totally sure I understand the question. In relation to despair?
How does your church address individuals and groups in despair? What is your church's path of Christianity? How is it evolving? What is the role of the church? These came in late.
Yeah,
so.
okay. So I would, and I'll let Carrie add on to this one, but I would just tackle that last one. What's the role? The role here truly is to create space for people who are barely hanging on. It truly is to create space so that when you come into free, and it doesn't just mean on a Saturday night, it could be a Monday night, as you mentioned at yoga. When you leave this place, have you encountered the God of love, compassion, grace, forgiveness, all the things? That's why we call this place free, because those are the things that set us free, and they're so freely given by God. So in other words, we'd be an utter failure here if you walked into this place and you encountered shame, you encountered exclusion, you encountered someone who said, you got to get your life together, then you can be a part of things. So that's what I would say is the role of the church here.
And I think I would answer the first part, right? About like how do we handle people in despair? Because I feel like that is what we do every day, all day. Not all day. We have celebrations too, right? We do have like happy things that happen here. But unfortunately, and it's not just us. It could be community members, right? Like you guys are just as important in this solution, right? Like you see here, so really it's the creating of the space. It's the non-judgmental, right? Like somebody walks in who might be struggling with mental health. They might be struggling with their sobriety. They might be struggling with family situations, right? Like there's a lot of darkness that happens. And really what it is, it's like for us, one of the ways that we continue to do this, and I will speak, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but, and I would say that we talk about this all the time, that like it's important for us to take care of ourselves, yes. Right? Like, so people who are like frontline workers, right? Like they have to be strong. They have to be like energetically, like whether they get their sleep and their food and all the basics, right? Like firemen aren't sitting there not taking care of themselves. And I know that we talk about this all the time. Like it gets heavy and he's like, go home, right? Like it gets heavy. Ryan's had a very rough couple of weeks. It's like, let's go play some pickleball, right? So when all those things, it's true though, yeah, like, so when all those things happen, that we are actually able to show up for the hard times, because it's not easy, but it's also like, we have to take care of ourselves in order to take care of everyone. And the same goes for you guys.
Can I add on to that, or were you moving to a different question?
You can move.
I
you
just,
can
I just want to
on.
add one thing, because sometimes the accusation is, well, it's just too loosey-goosey. And you got to tell people what to believe. You got to tell them exactly where to stand, and you got to tell them exactly how to do it. And it's like, no. Think about your own life. Did that ever work? Were you ever shamed into healing? Did it ever work for you? And when I look at the way of Jesus, and you'll hear me be very intentional about that language, the way of Jesus, there was a story where Jesus got down in the dirt and he started writing something. We don't know what he was writing, but it's this image of a Jesus who gets down in the dirt with people, and then he says, I don't condemn you. I know the religious leaders are condemning you. I don't condemn you. And then he says, go and sin no more. But grace is what changed that person. Love is what changed that person. If you look at your life, isn't it always love and grace that changes us? It's never shame. It's never just here's the rules and just obey the rules. And so to think we've got to do things here in a way that says, here's God, here's how to do it, get your act together. Really, would that work? Would that be good? I don't think so.
Can I tell them the title of your Vegas conference?
Yes.
And it's so good. So we're going out to Vegas. It's the church. We're being invited by the United Methodist Church. But that actually says, I think the title is "We're Not for Everyone," and that's okay, or that's the point. So again, there are churches out there who will tell you these are the answers, right? Great. If that's what you need, go there. We're not going to be mad at you. And if you go there and you don't find what you want and you want to try something else, we'll still welcome you back here too. So I just think, again, I don't know that we have all the answers, but I really want to get to Mark.
No, that was the last question.
Is it time?
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, what were you going to say, Shanley?
Oh, I was just going to say, do you have any final words for the community on how to live better, about living with better questions and deeper faith? And also, if you didn't hear your question or it wasn't brought up, I think Ryan's going to turn some of this into a...
Yeah, we'll turn some of it into a series, because you all asked such great questions, and really I know we didn't get into them all. So I can't wait to see the rest of the questions, because we didn't see them before right now. So thank you, Shanley, for leading us. Thank you all for participating and being brave enough to send in those questions. What I invite you to do now is just take a moment and reflect. Think about if it's brought you into your own questions, deeper, more questions. This song, we're going to take it back all the way to 1996.
I don't know.
Joan Morgan.
No, Osborne.
Joan Osborne. Joan Osborne with One of Us, which is such a good, it's theologically good song. You'll probably know it, One of Us. Take a moment, reflect.
So one of these nights and about 12 o'clock, this old world's gonna reel and rock. Saints will tremble and cry for
going to go over, so bear with us. I promise this will be worth it. For those of you who are new, every single Saturday we invite a guest storyteller up into the living room to share some of their story with on the conversation, right? And this guy, without fail, and I said this at the last service, right? Anytime you mention this guy's name, somebody has some story that they have to tell you, like, oh my God, he's so amazing. And the way we had actually said, I had 3 people come up to me at the end, like from the first one, and I'm like, guys, I can't change the story now, but trust me, this guy is known, this guy is loved. He has a tremendous support system around you. I highly encourage you guys to get to know him. You'll hear a little bit from him tonight, but please help me welcome Mark up to the stage.
Hello.
All right, so I want to get right to it because I know we're running a little bit over on time, but I think what you have to share is super important. When we sat down, I loved how you summarized. I always ask for the backstory. I'm like, tell me the thing, right? And what I loved about what you had said was it was nothing special. You didn't have that movie version where, the DUIs or the jails or all the things and all the consequences, but you still knew that the life that you were leading was not the one that you wanted to choose. And you knew that you had to get out, but you didn't know how. Can you tell us a little bit about the end of your addiction and what was that final moment of I can't go on this way?
Yeah, so real quick, I come from a great family, and my parents celebrated 59 years of marriage this year. I have 2 wonderful sisters. I have a wonderful older brother. I don't have any abuse in my past. I avoided a lot of consequences that I probably deserved. But what came to the end at the end is a culmination of disappointments, self-disappointments, and then finally being that guy that was, I'm not going to drink tonight, and by 5 o'clock being like, maybe earlier, being like, no, it's okay, and then just seeing myself on video drunk, and that was a pretty bad one. And but getting to the point where I wasn't living I wasn't following through on what I was saying I was going to do, and the final night was saying I was going to be home and then waking up at 6 a.m. the next morning with a bottle of Jack in my lap.
And what I love so much, because you can hear this, especially in this community, that we think we have to wait until we're at this bottom. And I feel like you are a great example of your bottom can simply be when you decide to stop digging, right? You're like, nope, I didn't get caught, but there's all those yets that could still happen. And do you ever wrestle with those doubts or not doubts really, but I guess those questions? You're like, yes, the doubts. But those questions of, your self-worth when it comes to you didn't get sober and everything magically started going your way. You didn't get sober and things automatically started, you didn't start automatically following through with these things, right? You did have to work at changing the insides, right? It wasn't just not about drinking. Can you tell us a little bit about what that looked like and what your recovery road looked like?
Well, a lot of people talk about how drinking and drugs were the solution, and that was the thing. Those were the things that masked having to feel and having to go through and having to deal with myself and the things I had done, the accomplishments, the disappointments, that I kept reliving and kept reaching, So when I first got sober, I ended up having to move back into my parents' basement, and it wasn't like, oh, hey, my life got better. It was crying myself to sleep at night and crying myself awake in the morning, and being desperate to the point of turning back, you know, to a higher power, something I totally didn't understand, but coming into the rooms and being reintroduced to faith, to the God idea, to and in a non-judgmental way. I had come from, you know, a parochial school. I was raised Catholic. I was went to a Jesuit high school, went to a Lutheran college. I had always had spirituality and religion in my life, and I'd gotten away from that path. And the rooms of AA reintroduced me to a relationship with God. And it wasn't in a judgmental way. It was like, what makes sense to you? And what makes sense to me was taking a rosary that I had found, that I still had, and doing things like learning these new prayers that I didn't learn before, of like a serenity prayer and the third step prayer. And instead of saying Hail Marys and Our Fathers in a rosary, I was using that to say serenity prayers and third step prayers, and that's how I memorized that. And that was just to get through and get myself to work, like, so I could go up and show up and make it there. Like, otherwise I was crushed. I couldn't even get myself out of bed, and, you know, and without this help, it was just something to shut off my mind from constantly spinning and constantly beating myself up and going into the self-pity and the poor me and all the stuff that was going on.
And I know your amazing girlfriend is here tonight, and we got to sit down this week, and it was so interesting because I didn't anticipate the interview going this way, like but she actually helped like laser focus it. And one of the things that was so fascinating to me, and some of this stuff that you're talking about, like just the noise in the head, right, and all this self-doubt and all this negative talk, on the outside, you don't look like that. Right? You look confident, you're tall, you're attractive, you are successful, like you do all the things, you have all the things on the outside, but on the inside, they weren't matching up, right? And one of the things that Nicole really helped pinpoint was, it's almost like this pressure to meet the expectations of the outside world, and to be the person that everyone thinks you need to be, this tall, masculine, like really strong guy all the time. But you just said you were crying yourself to sleep at night, right? So what does that look like today? And then how do you sit in that uncertainty when you still have those, you know, less than stellar days of the self-talk? What does that look like today?
Yeah, I was just talking to a guy about that between the services too. It's not like it just goes away, you know, and there's not like, once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. I'm always going to have some of this in me. I'm always going to have a part of me that wants to bring me down and get me alone and isolate me. So then, you know, it can gnaw me till like all of a sudden, like, I think drinking is a good idea again. But what I do have and what I've cultivated and worked really hard for is a community and friends about me, and that I can call and talk to. Am I really good at calling them all the time? No, especially when I have problems going on. No, but I've gotten better. But what I still have to do is just get back to the fundamentals and realize, you know, when it's coming in, what's going on in my brain. One, recognizing, hey, self-pity is a waste of time. Beating me up for not being perfect or not doing what I was supposed to do, and most of it's made up in my head of what I thought that either somebody I know that does have, you know, a part of my life, or somebody that has no part in my life at all, or what, you know, I may run across is like these ideas of things that don't matter, giving them power to rule my life. And so recognizing, hey, that doesn't matter, right? What does matter is what I've been taught in here is that I'm good enough. I belong here and I'm worthy to be here. I'm here to do it. And so just like all of us. So, you know, this room has taught me that I'm no better, no worse than anybody else in here. We're all equal and we're all worthy to be here. So it's also given me the thing of like, if I believe that I'm God, like we're God's children and you're God's children and you're God's child, and then I'm too, and I'm eligible for that love.
I absolutely love that. And I do have to say, so in closing, I do want to, guys, you got to get to know him on like a personal level. Go, he's around here, he's around. But I do want to say that every single person, I'm not kidding and I'm not making this up or even exaggerating, when I had told them that you were either the guest storyteller, they were here at the 5 o'clock, or every single story was Ben. So Ben was the first one who said it to me, and then I had several tonight. They're like, when I first met him, you see him, right? And they couldn't believe that you wanted to be friends with them, right? Because they see this exterior and they're just like, oh, that guy's not, like, he's way cooler than I am. He's not one, you know what I mean? Like, that guy is so not gonna wanna be my friend. No, I'm serious though, right? I didn't make this up. I literally I will tell you who they are too. Like, there are people who said that, right? And then the other guy who told me, they said you actually saved their life because what you did is on his first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, you talked with him in the parking lot. That's it. That's all you did. You didn't like tell him it's all going to be well. You didn't say, like, you hear it all the time, keep coming back, keep coming back. But you actually took the time to stop and talk to him, and that literally changed his life. So that being said, what would you say to the person who is still out there, who looks at you or other people who are so shiny with some time in recovery, and they say to themselves, oh, that guy doesn't want to be my friend. I can't possibly have what he has, right? And to think about, how do you invite that person into this world of recovery who isn't there yet, who still believes those internal voices that they don't belong, they're not worthy, and I'm certainly never going to be able to be friends with like that guy.
So one thing I've realized and had to learn is that my ego lies. And I said this earlier, right? Like, if I was still drinking, I could tell the future, right? I know what's going to happen. If I was still using and doing this, like, I was going to go down a path, or I was going to get drunk, or I was going to disappoint somebody, or I was going to end up in jail. That future's laid out. Being sober and being open to a new possibility, being able to new perspectives, as it was brought up earlier, I don't know what's going to happen. And who am I to try and judge that? So what I would say is let go of what you think you know. Let go of the past, the old ideas, because I have no idea. I want to look at people, and I'm not the only one, but to look at people and to say, this is what you're thinking. Oh, I know people like you, or I know, and it's like, I don't know shit about that. I don't really know what's going in. What I do know is, I could probably learn something from you. And what I do know is that you're worthy to be here just like I am. And, facing some of those fears, facing some of these things of just opening up the door to saying, maybe I don't know what's going to happen. And letting go of this idea that, hey, I know what's going to happen, because I don't, and I don't want to know anymore. I like the wonder of what's in front of me, and the new experiences, because it's an old cliche, but man, more will be revealed, and it is every day. I have to put myself in a position to be open to go look for it.
That's wonderful. And I do know, guys, so again, if you do want to be friends with Mark, I hope it's okay that I'm saying, like, finding new friends for you. But, like, literally, like, every single person was like, oh, my gosh, they said the same exact thing about him. So he's not so big and scary, and he actually is very easy to go and talk to. And I would suggest that several people in recovery are all like that. We all just are working at this together. So thank you, Mark, so much. And
thank you, Carrie.
Mark is my neighbor now. Mark and Nicole moved just like a few neighborhoods away. Yeah, 10 minutes, 8 minutes, 8 minutes away. Neighbors. All right, y'all. Hey, the way we close down here on a Saturday night is very similar to how we begin. We begin with celebrations, but we close with what we call heartaches, because it's way too easy to try to roam about this world and carry these burdens and not let anyone know, try to carry them on our own. Then we find out we suck at carrying them alone. And you don't have to. It's why we have community. That's why we have a God who hears the cries of the people. So if you need some prayer, some lifting up, some encouragement, that's what this time is for. We take 3 minutes for this again.
My name is Elizabeth, and my nephew is 25 years old, and he's been homeless and struggling with addiction. He's in the hospital battling an infection that got behind his eye, and his life expectancy is very low. And my sister's very, very scared, and so prayers for him. His name's Audric.
Prayers for Audric and your sister and your family. Thank you for sharing that with us, Elizabeth.
Just want to send prayers regarding the person closest to me who has Alzheimer's, and my experience of him is difficult, and but we do share music, and as long as he can play that guitar, I'm right there with him. But it's just difficult because I can see him really slipping away.
Prayers for him and prayers for you. Yeah, that's a hard thing to see.
Hello, my name is Jennifer, and I needed this tonight. I'm sober over a year now, thank God. I still live with my parents in my high school bedroom, and I asked my stepdad a couple months ago, can I just stay home? Because this is keeping me sober, and now you guys need me, and he needs a kidney transplant. So we're going through a lot, but I'm staying sober and just being there for my family that saved my life when I couldn't. So I just wanted to ask for some prayers, please.
Yeah, Jennifer, I'm glad you're here tonight. Thank you for sharing that with us, and prayers for you. I'm so glad you're staying sober through the hard stuff. Yeah.
Yes, my name is Swan, and I want to send a prayer to Erin, my friend who texted me on the way here with concerns over her grandfather and her grandmother. And I said a prayer for her on the way, but I feel everyone in the room, and just to uplift her. Me personally, I was speaking to Nicole. I always call her sis, so I have to. Nicole today about my journey, and I just ask that you all continue to keep me in your prayers. I'm finally feeling as if I'm back to looking at life in the most optimistic of ways. It's been a long journey these last 3 years. They've been very instrumental. They already know how much I love them, and I adore them, and I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Mark Jordan. And just keep us all. I say prayers for you all as well. Everyone here, keep you in my heart. Bricks, what's up, man? And I just ask that you all continue to come together like this. This is my first time, and I feel energized and a part of the community, as we say. So thank you for having me.
Swan, you ought to come on back, man. You just gave us like a beautiful benediction. Thank you for that. Nicole, you want to join me up here?
I hope I can read it.
Can
Yes.
you read? If not, Josh has got his readers on. I bet he
All
could
right.
read.
I can see it on there.
Okay. You want to? These are online people. You want to take the first one?
Yes, please.
If you can read it from there or there, whichever one.
Oh, here we go. Jennifer says, we need prayers for a friend whose daughter just gave birth. They're both struggling health-wise. The daughter who gave birth died for 5 minutes, but thanks to our good God, she was brought back. The baby and her are vulnerable health-wise and need all the love and prayers. Also, such an amazing service. My favorite one yet.
Prayer, yeah, huge prayers. And Jennifer, so glad you're with us tonight. Welcome. Marty says, could someone pray for me? Feel like I need it. Marty, this whole community is going to be praying for you tonight. I'm glad you're here, and I know you've reached out before. Keep doing it.
Stephen says, please pray for Andrew, drunk every day from age 12 to age 40. Please pray he is able to learn what he's missing growing up.
Lifting up Andrew tonight. Glad you're here, Stephen. Monica says, asking for prayers and healing for family and loved ones. Our friend Josh passed on Thursday. So sorry for your loss, Monica, holding you all in prayers.
Robin says, I need prayers for God's divine guidance in my life. I am doing my best to seek his will, but sometimes I feel like I can't hear or understand how to find the path he has for me.
Yeah. Robin, you're always showing up and always part of this community, and keep going. It may be closer than you think.
May I have one?
Yes.
I did share it earlier, but I really need prayers for my little sister. Her husband, my brother-in-law, got stabbed 2 nights ago, 5 times. In a drunken rage, he went and was picking a fight because he was trying to die. And so I want prayers for my sister because she's raising 2 small children of his.
Prayers for all of them, and you, Nicole. Thanks for being here. Yeah. All right, y'all, if you have been impacted by this mission here, breaking the silence of addiction, creating space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection, well, you should know that we do rely upon your generosity. It's how we keep the whole mission going. If you'd like to donate free, and we're always grateful for it, well, there's a few different ways you can do it. You can download the app, Free Recovery Community. All of our content's on there. Guest storytellers are on there, messages. And there's a giving button. You can click on that, and you can do it one time or monthly, weekly, however you set it up. We're grateful for all of it. Or you can do the same thing on the website, freerecoverycommunity.com. And of course, there's 2 giving kiosks, baskets, just outside these doors and one outside these doors for you cash and check type people. And there's the Kind kiosk. It's the one-tap system just outside these doors on the right. It's like a stand-up thing, and you just tap it one time if you want to give that way. That's cool too. And seriously, some of y'all, you've made it a practice in your life, and it makes a big difference here. A little bit makes a big difference when it's lots of hands jumping in together. So thank you for being a part of it. Shall we go out with a prayer? Yeah, let's go out with. First, you can just take a big deep breath. I know we went a little later than we usually do, and that's okay because we're going to breathe. We're all here together. And if God feels distant, I will remind you as I was reminded tonight. Sometimes God's like, yo, I can't get any closer because I'm already close enough. I'm in your breath. So breathe in and out. That divine breath, the ruah in the Hebrew. And if you don't know the set-aside prayer, Mark told me he was praying it on the way over here. It's a beautiful prayer. It's on your screen. We'll pray it together. It goes like this. God, today help me set aside everything I think I know about you, everything I think I know about myself, everything I think I know about others, and everything I think I know about my own recovery so that I may have an open mind and a new experience with all these things. Please help me see the truth. Amen. Grace and peace to you all. See you next time.